In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace be upon you. Today, I will take you in my time machine to an era where you will feel as if you have entered a completely different world. A place where people lived completely differently from our time. An era where the laws of our physics stop working and where our biology changes completely. It's difficult to know how many centuries ago this era passed, because like everything else, our calendar and dates won't be of much use there either. But still, by looking at the people present there, their language, their words, and the ancient artifacts found there, I will try my best to ensure that our time machine's computer provides us with accurate information about that place and time as much as possible. So, let's begin the episode of the Time Travel series, in which today our time machine will take us to an era that I have been personally waiting to visit for the past 32 years. I was probably a 4 or 5-year-old child when one monsoon night there was heavy rain, severe lightning was flashing, and due to no electricity, there was complete darkness. Only what could be seen in the lightning's thunder and flash was visible. At that time, I was sitting with my mother, and she told me a story. The story of Prophet Noah's time, the rain, and a great flood. That story left such a deep impression on my heart that even after all these years, I remember that night as if it's passing before my eyes right now. Before we delve into the amazing depths of this story, I want to tell you the story of Prophet Noah once, so you know where my time machine will take you on this journey. Location unknown, country unknown, date unknown. Not much time had passed since Prophet Adam left this world, and what year this is, we'll see as we go forward. But at this time, Prophet Noah's era is ongoing, and he has been living among his people for centuries. Yes, centuries. I told you that the calendar of that time was running very differently compared to our time. Anyway, the people of Noah's community were arguing with him. They said, "Noah, we don't think you are a prophet, because if Allah wanted to send a message through someone, he would send it through an angel from heaven." This argument of those people continued for a long time, but one day Noah's community's anger reached its peak, and they said, "Noah, then bring that punishment which you keep threatening us with." And Allah himself answers their request. In this unknown place, light drizzle begins, which gradually turns into light rain. A mild drizzle, but soon this drizzle turns into a torrential storm. But this storm is just the beginning. Gradually the clouds become deeper and darker. Darkness spreads everywhere on earth. In streets, cities, valleys, forests, water begins to fill. Animals start coming out of their dens and gathering in one place. Anxiety and confusion become apparent among people. Crops and fields are destroyed, and mud houses begin to wash away. But the rain doesn't stop until the gates of heaven are opened with heavy rain. Which gates? We'll see these gates later. And with the opening of these gates, water also begins to gush out from the earth. Between the water coming from above and below, the earth begins to drown. Everywhere there are people's screams and cries. Everyone is looking for a safe place to save themselves. But today, no one is destined to escape this storm. A woman is running through the streets with her child, trying to save him. She even starts climbing a mountain with him. But the rain and storm just won't stop. The water reaches the foot of the mountain, following the woman. The woman tries to go higher up the mountain with her child, but water is flowing so fast from the gates of heaven and the springs of earth that in a short time it reaches the middle of the mountain. Against all odds, the woman makes one last attempt to save her child by climbing to the top of the mountain. But the water reaches there too. Finally, she lifts her child above her head with her hands, but her foot slips there, and the water sweeps both of them away. Where this incident is written, at the end, these words come. If Allah had wanted to show mercy to anyone that day, He would have shown it to that child and his mother. On the other side, the people who survived this storm are aboard a strong and magnificent large ship with Prophet Noah, which I will take you inside, God willing. The passengers of this ship have entrusted themselves to the rogue waves of the sea and to Allah. And among these people, Prophet Noah says, "Now the movement and stopping of this ship is not in our hands, but in Allah's hands." But one of his sons, ignoring his father's words, gets off the ship and starts climbing a mountain, thinking that perhaps he will save himself from this flood. And Noah calls out to him from behind, trying to call him back. But at that very moment, a mountain-like huge wave comes between them both, and the ship overturns and is surrendered to the high and terrifying waves. And so those people, along with the animals present on the ship, keep moving here and there in mountain-like waves for months. But finally the rain begins to subside. Water gradually starts to recede. And eventually this ship comes to rest on a mountain. The people on it come down, and the animals who have become tired and weak from months of travel look for new places for themselves. And the humans, 80 humans present on this ship, after getting off the ship, establish a village there, which then begins the era that we know today as the world as we know it. This is the story of Prophet Noah, who was a prophet who came at a time when people's lifespans were thousands of years long, when the gates of heaven opened with rains. This is the story of a great ship, for which Noah had to grow an entire forest of dense trees. This is the story of a mother and her child, who was running on mountain peaks to save him. This is the story of a father who was trying to stop his son from climbing a mountain to save him from the flood. This is such a story that a mother told her 5-year-old child in such a way that he has not forgotten it to this day. Such a story in which the theme of parents and children is very prominent. And I really mean it by that. You will see that in Noah's story, the theme of parents and children is very dominant. But before we feel this story with its full power and listen to it, it is very important that we also understand the era in which these events took place. Because there are some questions in this story that cannot be answered without understanding that era. For example, how big would that ship be that could accommodate pairs of all animals and humans? And when we say pairs of all animals, as mentioned in the Holy Quran, do all animals really mean all animals? All animals. Do you have any idea how big this number would be? I will also tell you their mathematical estimation, what kinds and how many animals these could be. Then what strange incidents occurred among the animals present on the ship, which I will also tell you later. Then Noah's age. In the Holy Quran, Noah is the only prophet whose preaching time period, that duration, is mentioned, that he preached to his people for 950 years. 950 years. Why did the Holy Quran specifically mention his age? And then that magnificent flood which we will finally see today sitting in our time machine. So come with me on this amazing journey, where today we are going back to the antediluvian era. The antediluvian era is called the time before the Great Flood, and this era began after Prophet Adam came to this world. And today, I want to tell you about 3 great names of this era, hearing about which you will feel as if these are talks of some other dimension, some other timeline. And these 3 great names are Prophet Adam, Prophet Idris, Enoch, and Prophet Noah. And this era begins from the day when Prophet Adam was sent down from paradise to this world. According to Ibn Umar, on the day Adam was expelled from paradise, 3 other names came out with him from paradise: Prophet Eve, Satan, and the snake. All 4 came out together, but on earth they were placed in completely different places. According to Ibn Umar, Eve was placed in Jeddah, the snake in Isfahan, Satan in Iraq. And Ibn Umar says that when Satan was being sent down, his fingers of one hand were interlocked with the fingers of the other hand, and he kept staring at the sky with clenched teeth. But Prophet Adam, what we are really interested in, how and where did Prophet Adam descend? Ibn Umar says that Adam was placed somewhere in India. And when you were descending, both your hands were on your knees and your head was bowed. Now, if you imagine it, while descending, Adam was probably in a position like bowing. Well, Ibn Umar mentioned the matter of descending in India. And notice that exactly the same thing with just a slight difference in words Ibn Abbas has also mentioned. But in Ibn Abbas's narration, some very amazing information is also found. By the way, remember that to understand Noah's flood, it is very important for you to understand the antediluvian era. Antediluvian meaning the era before the flood, meaning the era from Adam to Noah's time. And today I am going to tell you some very surprising things about this era. According to Ibn Abbas, it was sometime between Zur and Asr when Adam descended to this world, and he descended on a mountain in India which is called Jabal Nuh in Arabic text. Remember this name. With Adam came such a breeze from paradise that it brought out very beautiful flowers and trees in that place. Fragrance spread, and that entire place was covered with a beautiful sheet of trees and flowers. Now, some things also came down with Adam from paradise. For example, the black stone, whose name you must have heard, and which according to narration was whiter than snow at that time. But there are some things that most people don't know about. For example, a staff made of paradise wood, which much later came to Prophet Moses. Then some things Adam made himself. For example, a knife, and another thing, an oven. Now, what exactly this oven was, we don't know. I tried quite a bit to find out about it, whether it was the same kind of oven that we see nowadays, you know, the same oven in which bread is baked, or was this some completely different kind of thing. But apart from the name, I didn't get many details about this oven. But I did find out that this was the oven that later came to Prophet Noah. And this was the same oven from which, according to Surah Hud, the flood of Noah's time emerged, and which is also a topic of our interest. And besides all this, 8 pairs of quadrupeds. I also explain how this happened, but one thing that is very interesting about Adam is his height, his stature. You know this from the Prophet's hadith that Adam's height was 60 cubits. Now, this cubit is not our hand, meaning from thumb to little finger, but it's the cubit system hand, meaning from the tip of the hand to the elbow bone. And 60 such cubits means approximately 90 feet. 90 feet. Let me give you a perspective of how tall 90 feet is. In Asia, a double-story house is on average 25 to 30 feet, while Adam's height was around 90 feet. This is mentioned in authentic hadith. But let me tell you a surprising thing. 90 feet was the height that Adam had at the time of his death. The complete hadith about Adam's height with its full context is in the first volume of Musnad Ahmad, in the section Akbar an-Nabi. When Adam came down from paradise to earth at that time, he was so tall that standing on the mountain where he descended, he could hear the voices of angels. He could feel the breeze of paradise. The animals of earth would run away seeing him, frightened by his stature, and it comes in the narration that since then, animals have been afraid of humans. But then, gradually, Adam's height began to decrease until it remained only 60 cubits, meaning 90 feet. And this remained his height until death. And this is the small part of the complete hadith that you have heard. Now that mountain in India where, according to these narrations, Adam was placed. Look, I and you are from the subcontinent, so naturally this was a matter of great interest for me to research further about exactly which place in India. At this time, there is a mountain in Sri Lanka that has several names: Jabal Rahun, Mount Serendib, and Adam's Peak, meaning Adam's Mountain. And this tradition has been going on among Arabs for centuries, and before Arabs, among Christians for centuries, that Mount Serendib is the mountain where Adam was placed. And the interesting thing is that the top surface of this mountain, its summit, is completely flat, and on its summit there is indeed a mark in the shape of a large foot, a mountain covered with green trees, various flowers, and beautiful vegetation, where thousands of people come every year to see this mark, which the local people call Sri Pada in their local language. Sri Pada, meaning mark of the sacred foot. I did some more research work about this Sri Pada because I wanted to find out if Mount Serendib really is that mountain. And during my research while scrolling through ancient texts, I found a very old, very beautiful and very rare book by Ibn Battuta, of which only a few pages remain now. And the name of this book is Tuhfat an-Nuzar fi Gharaib al-Amsar. I'm not sure if you can find this book anywhere today, but this is the book in which Ibn Battuta has recorded his journey toward Mount Serendib with extremely beautiful and charming details. And I want to translate Ibn Battuta's Arabic into the simplest but accurate English and present it to you. Listen carefully. Ibn Battuta writes, "When we first saw Mount Serendib, at that time we were on ships floating in the sea. Much happened between us and that mountain within 9 days. When we climbed to the top of the mountain, the clouds appeared as if they were floating below us, and they prevented us from seeing the foot of the mountain. This mountain is covered with its beautiful and evergreen trees, with greenery, many flowers and roses, especially red roses." Ibn Battuta writes, "Many freshest flowers floating on icy water, and when you climb this mountain, seeing all this, your eyes become extremely delighted. From here we know that Serendib is an Arabic name that Arabs gave to this country, and reaching here, Ibn Battuta's eyewitness account is complete. Amazing, right? Now notice how Ibn Battuta specifically mentioned green trees, red roses, and cool, icy water with a beautiful mountain. And do you remember that narration from Ibn Abbas that during the time between Zur and Asr, Adam descended on a mountain in India? A breeze also came with you from paradise, due to which that entire place was covered with beautiful flowers and trees. So, is Mount Serendib really the mountain where Adam descended? No one knows. But I have a personal feeling that perhaps this really is that mountain. Let me tell you another interesting thing. Technically, Mount Serendib is in Sri Lanka. But remember that this part of the Arab era, Sri Lanka, India, and Pakistan, was not separate, but this entire area was called Hind. And this part of Hind, meaning Sri Lanka, is an island. But if you look at the border between India and Sri Lanka very carefully from satellite imagery, with high-resolution images, you will notice that large stones are placed in the seawater between Sri Lanka and India, in such a way as if someone thousands of years ago made some kind of path from the island of Sri Lanka to the mainland of India. And in an ancient Arabic book written in the 8th century, Kitab al-Masalik wa al-Mamalik, meaning Book of Roads and Kingdoms, this strange natural path is mentioned. And the author of this book, Ubaidullah ibn Khurdadbi, writes, "Looking at this strange path between Sri Lanka and India, it seems as if some very tall person placed large stones here to make a path to the land." Imagine that. In fact, even today, this strange land formation has a name, Adam's Bridge, meaning Adam's Bridge. But once again, I am only presenting my research work to you. While the true knowledge of everything is only with our Lord, I am just an ordinary person wandering in search of this truth. Anyway, let me return to the topic. According to the hadiths and narrations found in At-Tabaqat al-Kubra, Adam went from India to Mecca more than 40 times. Now Eve, as I told you, who had descended in Arabia during one such journey, Adam saw Eve again at Arafat. And basically, that's why this place is named Arafat, because it was here that Adam met Eve. And the day this meeting took place is called Yom-i-Jam'iyah, meaning the day when gathering takes place in Muzdalifah. You hear all these names during Hajj days and occasions: Arafat, Jam'iyah, Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah means to gather, and it was at this very place that Adam and Eve gathered together on earth for the first time. All these narrations are in those 44 commentaries that I have studied. Then, at this very place, Adam built the first haram, meaning the Kaaba, by the command of his Lord. And for this construction he took soil from 5 mountains, Jabal at Tur, which they say is in Egypt, but no one knows the exact location of Tur. At present, there are 12 different mountains that are famous for being Tur. The second mountain, Jabal Judi, which they say is in Turkey, but to tell the truth, no one knows the location of Judi either. the third mountain Jabal Hira, which is in Mecca, then the fourth mountain Jabal Zaytun, meaning Mount of Olives, which is in Jerusalem, and the fifth mountain Jabal Hermon. And you have to keep this name in your mind, because during Noah's flood, this last mountain, meaning Mount Hermon, is going to play a very important role. Anyway, taking soil from these 5 mountains, Adam built the first house of Allah. Now those 8 quadrupeds, among the things that Allah sent down with Adam, there were also 8 pairs of quadrupeds. This is written in the 6th verse of Surah Az-Zumar. And if you read that verse carefully, you will see that first there is mention of Prophet Adam. He created all of you from one soul. Then there is mention of Prophet Eve, meaning from the same he created his pair, meaning Eve. And then there is mention of the descent of quadrupeds, meaning he sent down 8 male and female quadrupeds for you. 8 quadrupeds also came down with Adam. Now which quadrupeds? Those details, God willing, some other day, because the details of these animals are not so relevant to our topic right now. But then Adam sacrificed one of these quadrupeds by Allah's command, took wool from it, and then Adam and Eve together spun that wool. Adam made a robe for himself, and Eve made a shirt and a shawl for herself, which we call dupatta. Now just hold on a second. Adam with 90 feet height, and Eve with approximately the same tall stature, so naturally that quadruped, that sheep, or whatever animal it was, certainly would have been just as big so that wool could be taken from it to make such large clothing. The biochemistry of animals and living beings of the antediluvian era was very, very different. It is very important that you understand this. That's why I'm starting from the time of Prophet Adam to explain Noah's flood, so you can see that the biochemistry of those living at that time was very, very different from us. You know that if somehow you go back to the time of dinosaurs right now, you will see insects bigger than you there, and you will feel that perhaps you have reached some other world, almost your size Eurypterus named insect, bigger than you Pterygotus named insect. And I'm only talking about the insects of the Jurassic period. Now what size creatures and animals would there be in the time of Prophet Adam? I wish I could show you what is going on in front of my eyes right now. You will feel as if you have entered some other world. Anyway, when Adam finished building the Kaaba, once again he went back to that mountain where he was placed, meaning Jabal Nuh. And then his death occurred there. And the incident of Adam's death is also filled with amazing events like the events of his life. The Prophet Muhammad had a scribe, meaning his scribe, Ubay ibn Ka'b. Ubay is the companion about whose knowledge no one has any doubt. You are the companion to whom the Prophet used to order, Ubay, read the Quran to me. Ubay learned to read and write from a very young age. That's why he also knew about the Torah and the Gospel. And his expertise was in knowing where in the Torah and Gospel the glad tidings of the last prophet, meaning Muhammad, were present. He had collected all those verses from the Torah and Gospel and kept them with him. And on this basis, Umar ibn Khattab used to respect Ubay ibn Ka'b greatly. And from this introduction of Ubay ibn Ka'b, we know how credible the information given by him would be. Ibn Jamrah as-Sadi says, "One day I saw an elder in Medina who was preaching to people while standing. I didn't recognize him and asked people who this elderly gentleman was. So people looked at me with surprise and said, 'Don't you know him? This is Ubay ibn Ka'b.' And Jamrah says, then I immediately stopped there and started listening to him with full attention. And I heard that at that time he was narrating the story of Adam's death. Ubay says that when the time of Adam's death came near, he expressed a wish to his sons. 'My heart desires to eat the fruit of paradise.' So his sons went out in search of such fruit that might have signs of paradise fruits. But on the way, some angels stopped them and said, 'Your father can only eat that fruit after his death, so come back with us to him.' And when the sons and angels reached Adam, at that time among those angels was also the angel of death, seeing whom Eve sat close to Adam in fear and started seeking refuge for his life. But Adam moved Eve back and said, Leave me alone, because I now want to go back to my Lord." And then the angel of death took his soul. Are you noticing how in the antediluvian era, angels used to meet humans on the roads, talk to them? Eve could see the angel of death. She could see him. All this was so different from our time. The angel of death took Adam's soul, and the angels who came with his sons then buried him. And where did this burial take place? About this, one opinion is that Adam was buried near that same mountain of Serendib where he was first placed in this world, meaning Jabal Nuh. But later, when Noah's flood came, Noah took Adam's body from there and first kept it safe in a cave, then took it with him on the ship, whose details I will share with you when the time comes, God willing, and finally buried it in the area of Jerusalem. Then in Tariq Dimashq, which I have told you many times what level of book it is, Hafiz ibn Sakir has written, Adam is currently buried inside Palestine. His head is near the famous Mosque of Ibrahim in the city of Al-Khalil, while his feet are buried near the famous Rock of Jerusalem, meaning Sakra. This long distance is due to his height, and let me tell you another amazing thing. Prophet Ibrahim also bought this exact place from a person during his time, because his will was, after my death, bury me in this area. And that's why basically the name of that mosque in Al-Khalil is also Mosque of Ibrahim. Certainly, Prophet Ibrahim would also know that Adam's grave is present here. And perhaps that's why he too wanted to be buried there near our father Adam. You saw how different Adam's era was from our era. Standing on mountains and hearing the voices of angels, placing large stones to create some kind of underwater path between Sri Lanka and the mainland of India, obtaining wool from the body of a huge animal to make a robe for a 90-foot body. Can you even imagine how different that era, that world, would have been from this familiar world and time of ours? But Adam's era was just a beginning, because now I am going to tell you about two more people who came in the antediluvian period, because their lives, like Adam's life, passed full of amazing events. One is Prophet Idris, whom you surely know from the book of Enoch, and the other is Prophet Noah, in whose time the actual flood came. But if you want me to tell you about them with complete attention and detail, then allow me to complete this episode here for today, so that the next episode can be completely dedicated to Enoch and Prophet Noah's era. But now, you must do one thing. Go to the comment section and definitely read my pinned comment, my top comment, because it contains a very important message from me for all of you. Thank you, and may Allah be with you.